Hey y'all, welcome to Kamira's Kitchen. Today we're making some bourbon candy yams, some brown stew oxtail with coconut milk, some fried cabbage, and a pepper jack mac and cheese. Now this is that meal you make when you're trying to put your meal to sleep. Y'all know what I'm saying? This is that natural knockout. Now if you want more delicious recipes, check out my ebook. It's going to be in the description box. You will not be disappointed. Step by step, all the ingredients. Everyone who's bought it has told me they have loved it. And I know you will too. Now I am going to do, a little cheat here, and I'm going to do half beef neck bones, half oxtail. Now we all know oxtail prices off the yin yang, but beef neck bones are $3.50 a pound as opposed to the oxtail being $8.50 a pound. So this is a big difference to me, and I find that when you do half oxtail, half beef neck bones, you get the collagen and the fattiness and the richness from the oxtail, but you get a nice affordability from using the beef neck bones. And by having the beef neck bones braised with the oxtail, I find that the meat on the neck bones becomes a lot more tender and a lot more juicy because beef neck bones are pretty lean. So try this, save $1. Okay, y'all know how it is out here. Now I'm just going to rinse this a couple times. I let it soak in vinegar for about 10 minutes. And then I dumped out the excess water, and then I rinsed it again. I patted it dry, and to collect all that extra water, I stuck sort of a wad of paper towels at the bottom of the bowl. Let this sit just like this for about 10 minutes. And of course, y'all know, clean your sink, clean your hands. We ain't trying to spread germs. Y'all know what it is, okay? Now, once my beef neck bones have been sitting for about 10 minutes, most of the water should have kind of come to the bottom paper towel, and I'm going to just grab that out and toss it away, okay? We ain't trying to get that blood, whatever's on that, up in the food, okay? Now, I am going to season this pretty generously because this is a lot of meat. This is about 6 pounds of meat right here. Now, I have just started using this oxtail seasoning by Grace, and y'all, this is good. Okay, come on now. I used 1.5 tablespoons. You should be able to even find this at Walmart, or there's definitely at a Caribbean store. I have some white pepper powder, allspice, and ginger powder that I'm adding. Some browning to give it that nice color. Now, of course, you could burn some sugar yourself, but I ain't trying to do all that. Okay, it's a little bit difficult, I find, when you're doing the oxtail. I'm going to mix this up, but I am going to add more seasonings. I don't add some of the bulkier seasonings, like the very coarse seasonings right now, because I don't want them to burn while I toast the oxtail. But you could add them if you wanted to. Now, in my skillet, I am going to go ahead and brown the oxtail on all sides for about 3 to 4 minutes on each side. You don't want it to burn, but the color actually adds flavor to the stew. And I actually experimented with this, and I made a stew where I did not brown my meat. I just kind of seasoned it, and then I just cooked it and made the stew, and I will tell you there was a marked difference. It was still good, but there wasn't this depth of flavor that you would typically get by caramelizing and browning your meat. So I will say this is an essential step. Now, I did it in 2 batches because I did not want to steam the meat. You want to get a good color. Now, in the same skillet, I'm going to add 1 large onion that I've chopped, multiple different color bell peppers. It's about equal to 1 bell pepper. And I'm going to allow this to toast for about 3 to 4 minutes so that this can get a nice color. I'm then going to grate in about 1 inch of ginger. I like to freeze my ginger, and then it makes it actually easier to grate in. I'm also going to put in about 4 cloves of fresh minced garlic, and I'm going to toast this for about 30 seconds. Then I'm going to cut the heat off. Now, my oxtail is in my Instant Pot, and I'm going in with some vegetable seasoning. I basically just treat this like a mixed herb spice. I know it says vegetable seasoning, but y'all know these labels don't tell me what to do, okay? I got roasted garlic and herb seasoning that I'm adding in. This adds a great flavor, and I'll just put a little, move the oxtail around a bit, put a little bit on all of them. And then I'm going to be going in with a little bit of dried thyme, 2 bay leaves, and some fresh herbs. That's essential. You have to have your fresh thyme and your fresh rosemary. It just changes the flavor of your stews. I'm then putting in 1 spring onion and about 1.5 teaspoons of low sodium, better than bouillon beef. a tablespoon of Maggi seasoning, but you could also use soy sauce. And I added 1 cup of water to the marination bowl and rinsed out the bowl and just dumped all of that in, as well as all the veggies that we have already caramelized. I'm also going to be adding a Scotch bonnet for a little heat, little flavor. You could do half, and a teaspoon of salt-free Cajun seasoning. This is basically just, some smoked paprika, garlic, pepper, all of that, all in one. I'm going to pressure cook this for 40 minutes and then natural pressure release for about 30 minutes. That's how long it took for mine. If you don't like how tender it is, you want it to be softer, you could pressure cook it for 5 more minutes. Once it was done, y'all, this looked good. But I'm going to go ahead and add coconut powder for a little bit of creaminess and a nice flavor. So I'm taking one of these coconut milk packets and I'm going to put it in about 2 ladles of the gravy. And I'm going to mix this together. This is going to add a mild creaminess. Now, if you want it to be much more creamier, you could add 2 packets of the coconut milk powder. Because my oxtails were already trimmed, they're actually not super fatty, so this isn't going to make it taste overwhelmingly oily or anything like that. If your oxtails were not trimmed, you're going to need to skim the fat off the top of the stew and then maybe add some coconut milk. I also went in with a tablespoon of cornstarch mixed in water, and I just let this simmer for about 3 minutes. I added about a tablespoon of ketchup. These oxtails were so good, but remember to pick out the thyme leaves and the little allspice balls before you serve, because y'all, my husband be like, what are these little black balls in my stew, girl? So make sure you do that. While the oxtails have been cooking, I have been boiling about 8 ounces of noodles and some chicken broth, and I'm now starting on the roux for the mac and cheese. I am going to be putting in 2 tablespoons of butter and about 1.5 tablespoons of flour. I'm going to toast it for about a minute, and then I'm going to go in with approximately 1.5 cups of milk. Now, honestly, I just kind of did estimates for this mac and cheese because y'all know how we cook, okay? Y'all know how we do, okay? I then put in about 1/2 cup of heavy cream, and I just mixed that in, and then I went in with a whisk just to make sure I got out any of the lumps. Now today I'm going to be using a combination of cheddar, pepper jack, and some boursin cheese to make this mac and cheese. I've had some recommendations to try doing a thicker cheese sauce to see how I like the mac. Now you guys know I usually be on that ooey gooey, okay? I just be having sauce all over the place. But I did decide to try a sauce that was a little bit more thicker, and I did enjoy it. Now, once all these cheeses melted in, I went in with some white pepper as well as a little bit of a Sazon packet, about half, just to give it that cheesy color. A little bit of Vegeta. Y'all know I be riding for that Vegeta, okay? And then I mixed this in with a little bit of garlic powder, and I just allowed it to melt. Of course, you just season to taste. I then put in my 8 ounces of noodles that I've cooked in my chicken broth, and I stirred it in. As you can see, this is a pretty thick sauce to noodle ratio, but I wanted to get a little tanginess from some sour cream. So I decided to add in about 1/2 cup of sour cream and just about 1 tablespoon of milk. However, if you want your sauce to be looser, I would go in with the sour cream, and I would also add in at least another 1/4 cup of heavy cream to give it that richness, but to just make your sauce a little bit less dry in a sense. However, this mac and cheese was absolutely delicious. Now, I went ahead and I put it in my baking dish. I topped it with some extra pepper jack cheese, a little bit of paprika, and I baked this at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. Of course, you just want to watch until the top gets nice and brown. Now, if you've been enjoying this recipe so far, please go ahead and give me the thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more recipes like this. I cook full meals every week. I also show individual recipes, and I take requests. So please let me know what other recipes you would like to see. Now, once this mac and cheese was done, It was the pepper jack just added a really nice flavor. The boursin cheese, this mac was everything. Now we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to do a bourbon candied yams, and the bourbon just adds a nice warm different flavor to your candied yams. So I have melted in 5 tablespoons of butter with half of a cup of brown sugar. I put in a tablespoon of maple syrup, and you can add anywhere from 2 to 4 tablespoons of bourbon, depending on how much you like bourbon and what flavor you're going for. Then you put in your spices like your ginger and your cinnamon, a little bit of salt, a teaspoon of vanilla extract, about a half a teaspoon of nutmeg, and I also like to add about a half of a teaspoon of lemon extract just to complement the flavor. I put in about 3 pounds of yams, and you do not need to add no water. Okay, yams will produce their own water, so don't even try it. Okay, don't pre-cook them, don't do none of that. Just put it on low and let this cook for about 35 minutes on low. Now, about halfway through, I checked on it and then I opened it for the last 5 minutes just to allow the syrup to thicken up. Okay? Now, fried cabbage will go perfectly with this meal. So I just sauteed about 2 ounces of some Cajun sausage and about a tablespoon of butter. I then sauteed half of a sliced onion until it had a nice color on it. I put in half of a cabbage that I chopped up relatively large. I really wasn't going for super soft cabbage today. I wanted it to have a little bit of a crunch. Now, I was sent this seasoning from Heaven Made called It's Incredible. It's an all-purpose seasoning. So I tried it on this vegetable today, and I really enjoyed it. It's like a combination of pepper, salt, garlic powder, onion, spices, and it's very low sodium. So I enjoyed it. You'll see a link to it in the description box as well as a discount code. I cooked this covered for about 3 minutes on low, medium low, because you don't want it to burn. I stirred it, cooked it for about 3 more minutes, and then I'm going to go in with this low sodium Cajun seasoning they sent me as well. It's called Amazing Blazing Cajun, and it is really spicy, okay? So if you don't like spice, you may want to go for the regular Cajun seasoning. I added a little bit of Vegeta, toss it around for about 1 more minute, and this was perfect for me. Good seasoning, not super soft, a little bit of crunch, perfection on the fried cabbage. Guys, I hope you make this meal. Let me know, will you try this? Will you eat this? I'll leave a link to the cornbread recipe in the description box. I hope you remember that I love you and Jesus loves you. And I know I'm going to see you next time on Kamira's Kitchen. Goodbye and God bless you.